Hello, everyone. It's Franco here. So, before this episode starts, I just wanted to recommend to all of those listening to this podcast episode right now to consider switching over and watching this episode on our YouTube or on our website. So, I say this because watching today's interview makes it just that much more powerful and inspiring. So, with that being said, enjoy this incredible episode of A Little Something Extra.
Another episode of A Little Something Extra with me, Nancy Gianni, and my daughter,
the GiGi and Franco.
Oh,
and your son, the Franco.
The Franco. And this
the GiGi.
The GiGi.
Too late.
All right, you are only Franco. Just remember that.
Yes, well,
and ironically, this episode is about siblings. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes, it is. And favorite children, which I'm clearly not.
I am.
And she knows
Everyone knows.
Everybody knows that she's the favorite. So that's why I'm excited to talk about siblings, because when I heard about these two siblings, that happened, ironically, they're not siblings who got married. They are these two individuals who got married, and both happen to have siblings with Down syndrome. And they didn't know that until after they met, and they both had their big brothers had Down syndrome, which I just think is so awesome. And it's really helped shape them into the people they are today, to the couple they are today, to the philanthropists they are today, and to the huge success that they are today. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully they didn't bicker with their siblings the way that this little group does.
Oh, you know that they did.
I know that they did.
I think the reason that I am the person that I am today is because of the little lady sitting over there and the little lady sitting down there and the little lady sitting at work right now, because I think just all of your siblings just shape you in the way that you are, especially your sibling with Down syndrome or any type of disability. I mean, you just have to be that much more there for them, and you take on that responsibility, which then translates into the rest of your life, and that empathy that you then also have for them, and then just that understanding of just differences and things like that. And that's just, in my opinion, the absolute best part about having siblings and also siblings with a disability is the fact that you are just going to be that much more receptive to the things that people that might not notice if they don't have that in their lives. And I think it also translates obviously to parents and things like that, and all sorts of people in your family. But yeah, it's definitely quite the blessing to have, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a lot more about that from our guests today, which I will give their names in a minute.
And it'll be cool, too. I'm sorry to cut you off, Gigi. And it'll be cool the fact that we're talking to some older siblings. I mean, they are siblings that have literally gone through all of it. I mean, unfortunately, their siblings are no longer with them. That you'll hear more about that. But, yeah, it's a sibling perspective that comes from someone that are full adults that have gone through all the incredible parts of life that have also shaped them in their careers, and hearing about really what it's like long-term to be a sibling of Down syndrome.
Yeah, and that the gift just keeps on giving.
Yep.
And that's what I love when we talk about siblings. It is that, or not even about siblings, just families, communities. It's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
That acceptance and that love, they keep giving it on and on. All that love that they received, they keep giving it on. So I'm really, really excited about that. And all right, let's get to our Generation G moment, Franco G.
It is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, or as we like to call over here, Down Syndrome Acceptance Month. And that means that it's time for all of us to be a part of Generation G. Right, girls?
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So at Gigi's Playhouse, we're providing everyone with the opportunity to join the Generation G community if you haven't yet. There are tons of ways that you can actually be able to give back through this campaign that we are doing with this Generation G and being a part of the community. So to get started, visit iacceptyou.org. And on there, you'll be able to take the pledge to join Generation G and to be Generation G. It's simple. All you have to do is click on the tab to hit join, and then put in your information, and then you'll be input into the Generation G community. And what does that mean? Basically, it's you are taking the pledge to be generous, kind, and accepting every single day to all people. So after you do that and you take that pledge, the first thing that you need to do is live every day Generation G. But then after, there's ways that you can also be able to give back and spread the word of this amazing campaign. So you can spread the word by seeing all the different ways that are on the website when you go there after taking the pledge. So there'll be tons of ways you could do it, whether it's different sample social media posts that you could do. There'll be Generation G rocks that you could do, that you place them all over the community and basically just give people just kind of an understanding of what it is. Then there's also just different ways that you could bring it to your community, whether you want your organization to take the Generation G pledge and become Gen G certified, or if you want to take it to your school or your community organization. Tons of different ways that you could do it. So make sure you go to iacceptyou.org and take that Generation G pledge, because it's something special, and we want everyone in this world to be generous, kind, and accepting.
Talk about Gen G. Our whole GG's community is Gen G. We are 99% volunteer run, and we give everything away for free. So I'd have to say that we are generous, we are accepting, and we are kind, right?
Yeah.
All
say
right.
that again.
iacceptyou.org. And what I love about that is it doesn't only give you the tools. So say, well, I don't really know what I could do in my community or with my friends or what else. It gives you every idea in the world. It gives you tools. It gives you templates for your business, for corporate America. Get on there and get Gen G certified. Get Gen G certified for the culture of your business and for your customers to see that you're Gen G certified. Let them know that you are generous, you are kind, and you are accepting of all. You will get the certification if you take the Gen G pledge and if your company joins Gen G. So anyways, let's get on with the podcast, because I'm very excited with our two guests that are coming up.
And speaking of Gen G organizations, I think Mike, the person that we're going to be interviewing, is running quite the Gen G organization right now when it comes to what he's doing. So you want to tell our viewers a little bit about Mike? And
Talk
Linda?
about channeling their little something extra and changing the world while doing so. Mike Mussallem is the chairman and CEO of Edwards Lifesciences, a global leader in patient-focused medical innovations. We are also joined by his awesome wife, Linda, who has helped him in creating a culture built around giving back not only at Edwards, but in their Orange County community and actually essentially in the world. I mean, they are doing everything and trying to spread so many messages of acceptance and good health and love. Yep. So this allows them to be leaders both in the medical and in the philanthropy worlds. I'm so excited. They really are living their best lives, and it started, and they equate it to being siblings of individuals with Down syndrome. Yep. So what a way to kick off Down Syndrome Awareness Month, to kick off how awesome it is to be siblings. We are so excited to introduce Mike and Linda Mussallem. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to be here.
We are so excited to have you in this segment. This is, it's Down Syndrome Awareness Month, Down Syndrome Acceptance Month, and we really wanted to do a focus on special siblings. And when I heard you guys and heard your story, I felt like we needed to have you on the show, and I really want to get into where you are today and what you're doing today, because you do such amazing things. But first, I want to talk a little bit about your brothers. I want to talk about their life, your life with them. Can you guys tell us a little bit about, first of all, I should let you guys talk about yourself, shouldn't we? First, let's hear about you guys a little bit, and then let's hear about your brothers.
First of all, I want to say thank you for offering this opportunity to us, because over the weekend and last few days, we had the opportunity in preparing for this to relive some history and really experience some beautiful moments all over again. Great laughs and great grins. So thanks.
That's awesome.
So Linda and I have been married since 1976. That's a long time. That's even before you, Gigi, I think, huh? It was a special coincidence that we both found out that we had older brothers with Down syndrome, and I'm sure that provided some extra glue. But we met shortly after we graduated from college, and today actually trying to do things that are meaningful for the Down syndrome community is something that's the core of our philanthropy. And so we've had an enormously positive and successful life. We live in Southern California now. We were both raised more in the Midwest than near the Chicago area. But we're Californians now, and we still have a big family that is very supportive of all the things we do as well.
That's so awesome. And that sibling piece is such a huge piece, especially for when I think about our families. We've got families all across the world. And the very first, when they come to us, one of the biggest fears that they have, a lot of them come to us with a prenatal diagnosis or right when the baby is born. And their biggest fear, and it was also my biggest fear, was for the family dynamic. How was it going to affect my other kids, and what was their life going to be like to have a sister with Down syndrome? I didn't know anything about that world, and like I say all the time, I could not have made my kids who they are today without GiGi. She has made them the most amazing people, and that's why they were actually very curious too to see because I say that about them. They don't see that on themselves because they just grew up with GiGi and they're amazing people. So I really wanted to showcase you as adult siblings who have had that lifetime experience with your brothers and how they inspired you and how they inspired you to find your something extra and to be who you are today. And that was, so I'd love to hear a little bit about, our family dynamic is a little crazy. I got three out of my 4 kids are here with us today. They're all part of the show. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about each of your family dynamics, how many kids you had, how many brothers and sisters you had, where your brothers fell into the line, all of that stuff.
Maybe I could start. Both Linda and I came from an era where there really were no prenatal diagnosis. No. And so actually, when our brothers were born, our parents didn't realize that they had a child with Down syndrome. And it took quite a bit of time, actually, and going through a process before they found it out. And unfortunately, back in those days, the process was not a very positive one. Just heart-wrenching because I've heard this through my parents. My parents found out months later and they were told that their child is a mongoloid idiot, right? If you can imagine.
Jeez, can you even imagine? No.
It's just crushing. And Linda's mother and father had a similar experience. I think, didn't they say that
they were told he would probably never walk or talk and that they should put him in a home and forget they ever had him.
Oh my gosh.
That was 1950.
Yeah.
Right.
Things have come a long way, GiGi.
Yes, thank God.
They
Yes.
Sure have. But for us growing up, they were our older brothers. So they were always there since we were born, and they were bigger and stronger than us in the early years and were just a critical part of our life. And I have to say, brought incredible love into our family life and became kind of the central figure for both of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people still ask, what's it like to grow up with a brother with Down syndrome? And I would just shrug and say, I don't know. What's it not like?
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
As you mentioned, Nancy, that was our life. So
yeah,
it didn't feel different.
No. And it brings a lot of joy and laughter. Like I literally thank God every day for the awareness of all the gifts in this world because of that. I see them because of GiGi. I see things different because of her, and I'm grateful for that. I slow down because of her, and I'm so grateful for that. I feel for people who, and like right now, our kids are in their 20s, and a lot of families are moving on, and they're empty nesters, and they're like, well, now what do we do, and what do we do with our life? And she, like the kids are going off, and with us, we've got this constant bond as a family, and it's GiGi. She keeps us together in such an amazing way. It's such an incredible gift. So I'm with you, Linda. I feel the same way.
Well said, Nancy. And you know what? So for my family, and I'll let Linda describe hers, we were 3 boys. It was my older brother, George, me, and then my younger brother, Phil. And God bless my mother and my father. They were tremendously supportive, and we got treated as equals. It was always the 3 boys. My mom would dress us alike. We would do everything together.
I love it.
We were just inseparable. When we ended up old enough to start working in that, we had a paper route that we did, and people don't even know what that is now, where you deliver papers. But the 3 of us used to be able to tackle 72 homes. And we'd go out and do the collections and all that. And we were just always a team throughout everything in our life. And, we just didn't recognize the differences. Now, behind the scenes, pretty incredible parents, especially in my case, and Linda's case as well, our moms were incredible. Our moms sort of gave up their career and dedicated their life to just giving George a better life, and organized the community, and the moms would get together and they would do bake sales. They would do whatever they had to do. And they created a whole infrastructure that didn't exist just through their own willpower and force of nature.
And
right?
and when we talked about that, because that was the other thing that really touched me with you is the strength and tenacity of your mothers back then and what they did. And I said, imagine if they would have had the internet. You know what I mean? And spread that message, where they would have been able to take their message and their positive energy and their can-do attitude and all that. You know, I was blessed that when Gigi was born, I did have that platform that I was able to help take it out. You know, your parents did that on their own, and that just made it that much more special to me. And just the gift from God of growing up with such strong mothers and, you know, family values and all of that stuff. And that's why I was so excited to meet you, because I just, you know, when I think about that.
Your mom, Linda, that's
No, I
pretty
will.
incredible.
I will.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yes, and you said without the internet. My mom started without a driver's license, without a college education, and with nothing but love.
It's amazing.
And I would listen to her. She'd close her bedroom door and work on her speeches. What happened with her in trying to determine, we lived in a small town, Ottawa, Illinois, 18,000 people. So there wasn't a lot of individuals like Bob and George and Gigi, but there were some. And she read an article in the Chicago Tribune that the Chicago JCs had made Down syndrome their special project for that year. And she read that and thought, why not us? And started going to Lions clubs and Chamber of Commerce meetings, and without any experience speaking and asking for help. And they established the first school for kids with Down syndrome. It was called Echo School. That moved on to the first workshop, and that moved on to the first residential supervised living. And now there are 6 homes in Ottawa for individuals with Down syndrome and other disabilities. And one of them was named after my mom about 4 years ago.
Oh, that's
She was
awesome.
there. She was there to accept the award, and she gave. Mike said, if I had known she was going to give this kind of a talk, I would have recorded the whole thing, because it's better than any talk I have ever given.
Oh, and she was what at that time? 80 in her 80s, correct?
It was
Yeah, probably in her
early
80s,
90s,
yeah.
early 90s.
Oh my gosh.
98 and a half.
She's 98 and a half now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. That is awesome. So what year was that, like, when you were talking about the JCs? I love, because you take yourself so outside as a mother. You do take yourself so outside of your comfort zone for your children. You do whatever it takes.
That was probably, 50s, mid 50s.
Wow. That's really awesome. And then her and there are writing the speeches and doing things that, you know, probably had never done anything like that before. And just now was, you know, and that's what really the Little Something Extra is all about. It's finding that inner strength, that's something inside you that every single one of us are born with. And sometimes we just have to find it. And it might be something that makes you uncomfortable. It might be like writing speeches. That was my 2 biggest fears in life before I had Gigi were public speaking
Right.
and flying. And I have to do, you know, God's laughing every day because I have to do both of those every day to continue to spread our message. So I love hearing that about your mom writing the speeches, because I know where that comes from and what that's like, and how deep you dig when you're fighting for your children. So that is awesome. I hope you guys can send a picture of her. I would love to see this amazing woman who she is today. And
You forgot the road trip. You forgot that one.
oh, I forgot I will tell them about the road trip. But I know you have a question you want to ask, so you could ask your questions now.
Okay. First.
Sure.
Linda, what is your funniest story about your brother?
You know what, Gigi? Mike is famous in Orange County, California, for giving a talk about our brothers about 4 years ago. And people will still stop him and mention his story about my brother. So I'm going to let him describe that one for you.
It's gonna be good.
So it was a great story, Gigi. So Linda's brother Bob woke up and he had diarrhea, and he was embarrassed about it. And he went down the hall, and the mom and dad were in the kitchen, and he says, "Mom, Dad, I think I have asthma."
That's awesome.
And so that pretty much pegged the meter, and that's redefined the whole term for our family.
That's right. That's awesome.
Mike, what is your funniest story about your brother?
So I have a lot of funny stories about my brother. He was a funny guy. He had a great sense of humor. Whenever somebody said something to it they didn't understand, he always just had this expression that said, "Are you? You are," which nobody really knows what it meant, but it was a good defense for him. The funniest story was also intertwined with the saddest story. So it's actually when we were visiting Dr. Chacoin, and it was time to get a flu shot, and George hated needles. And so he would scream bloody murder when the needle was coming at him, and I had to help hold him down. And it was horrifying at the time. But then the funny part of it is we found out what the secret was, and that it was that Dr. Chacoin had a very pretty nurse, and whenever she had the syringe, he was perfectly calm. So there you go. Right?
It's all about those pretty ladies, right?
So.
Right.
For Gigi, it's probably more about where can we go for lunch, and then she'll take the shot, right? Yeah. Can I get Starbucks?
Good one, Gigi.
So I actually had a question too, coming from a sibling perspective, because I know throughout my life, G just had such a positive impact on me, just when it comes to my outlook on the world and just the way that I interact with people and just different types of people as well. So my question to you guys both is, how do you think your siblings with Down syndrome have impacted your life, and what type of positive attributes do you think you received from them?
Well, I'm sure we're equals in that regard.
Absolutely.
Acceptance of people that are different instead of fear. I think when you're a young child and you see somebody that looks different, it's frightening. And we were able to have the opposite experience, that it's better to be accepting.
Always.
Of course.
That runs deep throughout all aspects.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Acceptance and I think empathy too. Both of those they kind of go hand in hand. I think that's what I've seen the most in my kids and the other siblings. Compassion, that we don't see differences in a way that other people do, and that's kind of why we have a campaign called Generation G: Be generous, be kind, be accepting, and wake up
No, I
every.
won't say it.
Oh, sorry, you could say it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, you gave it to Linda in her tips already.
Gigi, you wrote me that yesterday, and I think it's perfect. Thank you for that. I'm going to use it a lot.
See? All right, I know.
Yeah, so very similar. I think you all said it well already. Also, it teaches you a level of humility. I mean, I think about the things that we accomplished in our lives, but when I compare it to what my brother George accomplished in terms of learning to read and to write and to handle money and all the things that were really important and get a job, those were enormous accomplishments. And when you translate that to your life, and I get a chance to be with talented people from all around the world, it just causes you to think deeply about each person and know that they have their own story and their own set of accomplishments that deserve to be respected. And it's a great reminder you just never forget. It never leaves you.
No, I completely agree. It completely humbles you, because it basically I feel like so many people have such a I don't want to say self-centered mindset, but they just think about okay, this is the accomplishments that I need to meet in order to prove my worth. But I think with individuals with disabilities and with Down syndrome specifically, I mean, there's that different criteria, but at the same time, it's so much, that reward should just be the exact same, because it is harder. But at the same time, when they do accomplish those milestones, it should be celebrated in the exact same way that we celebrate, or that anyone else would celebrate their milestones. And that's why I think when it comes to what Gigi's does and and advocates around the world, that's why I think that sense of humility, that's where it stems from. Is just understanding those milestones and those accomplishments, and that everyone sets them differently. and that they should all be celebrated regardless of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have to work every day. They have to work so hard every day to do the things that come naturally to us. You know, walking, talking, reading, everything you talked about. They have to work so hard to get there. I remember you guys when Gigi learned how to walk. You know, we finally got to that point where she learned how to walk. She couldn't jump. Who can't jump? You know, you don't even think about, like, who can't jump? And literally the kids would teach her the dynamics of jumping. Go down and up. And just praying to get a little air under those feet. And it took months before she was able to jump. And I go to the playground sometimes and I tell parents, like, do you even understand how lucky you are that your child can jump? It's such a simple thing, but that's when people, I think, start to understand that low muscle tone, and that it's not that their body works different. That low muscle tone, they have to teach their body to do what comes naturally to us. And I love giving an example like jumping, something so simple. And then start thinking about, like you said, reading, writing, math, money. All of these things, like we do free tutoring in literacy and math because our kids can do this stuff. They just need to be taught the way that they learn. So I love that you talked about what
it's a great point. And, you know, there's also the support of family. I mean, how many hours does mom invest or brothers and sisters, you know, support each other going through those things? I remember, you know, my brother George probably working for a good year to learn to tie his shoes. Right. It was a big accomplishment. We had a party when that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And think about how much you celebrated it too. Like when Gigi jumped, like really started jumping for the first time, we were like, we were going crazy because we loved the idea of we taught her and we worked so hard at that, and we knew she did too. And I'm sure it was the same thing with tying the shoes and then just all the other accomplishments that come in life.
Yep.
And that's that reward of just us being able to celebrate. It just shows the pride that they also have as well in these accomplishments.
Yeah.
Who was your mom's favorite?
Ooh, that's so easy. Well, in our house, it was always our brother George. And you know what? Even my brother Phil and I are very close. We'd always have this expression. So, you know, we'd always ask my brother George, who's your favorite, right? Trying to get my brother George to declare one of us best, because George's opinion was always most important. And, you know, at least in our house, not only was George the most popular, but he was the most popular in the neighborhood. He was he was always the star. Sometimes he'd call himself King George. Right?
Well, I guess they give themselves names, because what do you call yourself? The
Gigi.
She is not Gigi, she's the Gigi, and
Gigi,
especially
there
to
you go.
her siblings, right? And
Right.
she loves to tell them that, who's mom's favorite?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, she reminds us every single day.
Oh, believe me.
Very good.
I've seen Snapchat stories whenever she gets her chance to rub it in that she's the favorite. There's a fight over being a favorite. I think one story I want to tell you guys really quick, and then I really want to get into some things about the Edwards Lifesciences. Like, there's some cool things you've done with your life too. Both of you two have done with your lives that I want to talk about. But I remember when Gigi and I were traveling in New Orleans, and we were, remember this? We were doing a book signing, and we took an Uber from the hotel to get to this book signing, and our Uber driver picked us up. He was 84 years old, our Uber driver. And yeah, it was quite a ride. We learned his life story because we got lost multiple times, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he had 7 brothers and sisters, all these grandchildren, these great-grandchildren. And he just, you know, kind of told us his life story. And as we're in the car, he said, so what are you doing here? And I said, well, we have these Down syndrome achievement centers all across the world. They're called Gigi's Playhouse, and we are here doing a book signing for our New Orleans location. And he was like, my 4th brother had Down syndrome, and he passed away when he was 55 years old, and he just kind of got it quiet. So when we finally got to our final destination, he got out of the car and he asked Gigi for her autograph. And isn't that amazing? And he said, he goes, my mama is going to be so happy. I go, your mama, you're 84. His mom was 104. I was like, oh my gosh. She goes, my mama is going to be so excited about this. And he said, I can't wait for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, for my mom to be able to see how you're celebrating individuals with Down syndrome, how you're giving them all the tools that they need, where my grandchildren and great-grandchildren can go and volunteer and learn about their uncle who they didn't get a chance to meet. So just these sibling stories, that's what I love about just that bond and who all of us are as siblings and family members of individuals with Down syndrome. And I really think it does define us, and Linda, like you said, and give us that openness and acceptance in our heart to always seek out and find amazing people like you guys. And that was one of my favorite sibling stories, and just something about that connection and how strong that connection is, whether they're here with us anymore or not. And I wasn't certain I wasn't sure how or when your brothers died. I hate to ask that question, but I didn't know that story at all. If you don't need to share that.
Both coincidentally around 58, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Which was a big deal because, at one time the life expectancy was much shorter. And so that was a byproduct of getting really great health care. And, give Dr. Chacoin some of the credit, who we're going to talk to later.
Absolutely. Oh, I didn't realize they were. And both of them about that age, 58 was when they passed? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is
I mean, my question.
okay. Sorry, that is really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't sure, and something you don't want to ask, but that's amazing for them, and born during such a time where there wasn't the resources, and the Adult Down Syndrome Clinic didn't open, I think, till like 1992. Like when Gigi was born in 2003, I was like, oh, there's this Adult Down Syndrome Clinic. I was even, because I didn't know what my life was going to be like. But I knew as she got older, there was going to be the Adult Down Syndrome Clinic. And we didn't have any Gigi's Playhouses back then either. So it's really amazing how things continue to evolve and really help our individuals with Down syndrome live their best life. Okay, go ahead, Gigi, sorry.
How do you two meet?
We were out of school, and Mike was interviewing for jobs, and I had already scored a job, but I was going to be a quality control supervisor in a facility that wasn't built yet. So me and 4 other workers were already, we rented a house and we were waiting for the facility to be built. And because I was the only female, I got to be the receptionist and make the coffee. And one day this guy came in for an interview, and we chatted for quite a while he waited. And after his interview, the HR VP came out, and I said, you ought to get more guys like that in here. I was really impressed. So years later, maybe it wasn't years, couple years, we were dating, and I said, I will never forget how great you looked when you came in that navy blue suit. And Mike's jaw dropped. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, I didn't interview in a navy blue suit. I wore a brown and blue and ivory check sport coat. And I went, oh my goodness, you're the wrong guy. So that's how we met, Gigi.
That is awesome.
At least I think I met him that day. I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, that's
That's a really good
classic.
story.
Mike, what made you love Linda so much?
So Linda's this very caring person. And, we have a lot of things in common, like our families that grew up, we're very loving families, and we had our Midwestern roots and lots of things that made us the same and trying to have a better life. But one of the things that was special is things that were different about Linda than me. And so she's one of those people that lives in the present. And so she will stop and smell the roses. And so I'm kind of the strategic guy that's looking into the future and always thinking about what's next. And Linda very much lives in the present, and she ends up having deep relationships with the people she meets and is really curious about who they are and so forth. And that's been super valuable to me and really a source of love because, over all these years, you become best friends, right? It's not just husband and wife and, all the support that I've gotten from Linda all these years and just makes our love very special.
That's so awesome. That is awesome. I love that. And I love that he has to say that right next to you, Linda. See, girl power. We reinforce that. We want to make him say it. Say it out
Yeah,
loud.
Really?
Next
Thanks, Gigi.
next time she loses her keys, right?
Oh my gosh. So Mike, the one thing I remember reading back when I first heard about you was and reading about these heart valves and these different things that you do was how the one, I think some kind of catheter that was going against the flow of blood. And I just love the idea of you going against the flow and figuring things out and like you're world renowned as a CEO all across the world. Like you have been at the Harvard Business Review, you've grown your company by more than 4,000%. What do you, like as a CEO, what do you think are your biggest leadership attributes and where do they come from?
Well, you're very kind and somewhat exaggerate, but I'll tell you, we've been extremely fortunate as a company, and Edwards is a tremendous organization at this point. We're very global, and we're noted for being not only very high quality and high integrity, but for being innovators and really doing things that were almost unthinkable. And what we're most famous for right now is to be able to replace a heart valve with a catheter. So a small hole in the upper thigh to actually replace somebody's heart valve in under an hour and have them be able to go home in a day.
It's
amazing. just unthinkable. And, the willingness to take on those innovations, which both took some risk, but also meant that you had to have a long-term horizon, was something that I'm very proud of. And, mostly I think what helps me be successful is I'm surrounded by an incredible group of people. And so what happens is when you do our kind of work, which is helping patients, you attract people not only with great brains, but great hearts. And when those people respect each other and we end up with the incredible diversity that we have around the world and we have a common goal, it's pretty unbelievable in terms of what you can accomplish. So it's been a really privilege for me.
Well, I think you're being extremely humble, but that's who you are. And I think even recognizing that it's the people around you that make you and make Edwards who they are is also a very big gift. And some people don't always recognize that. They take it all for themselves. So I think that that's a huge part of who you are and your success. And I know Franco had some questions. He was reading up on you. He's so excited about you. I guess sibling to sibling. There you go, Franco. You can talk to a brother from another mother.
That's very true. I mean, one of the things that I was reading on that I absolutely love is the way that you bring, I guess, like a sense of, not philanthropy, but I guess you kind of just make it come full circle back at Edwards, where you have a lot of the patients that are helped by these heart valves that your own employees are actually stitching up come back into the office, so your employees can actually see what they're giving back to the world. And
so cool.
Was that your idea to have those people, like have a lot of those patients come back in, or is that something?
No, it was mine, Frank.
That was yours? I'm not surprised.
Well, thanks, Franco. It is one of the very special things about Edwards. And actually, the idea preceded me. But boy, we recognize it as a great idea. And we do more of it today than ever.
Right.
And so, and I'll just give you a couple of things.
Yeah.
One is because we have an impact on patients' lives, to be able to capture their stories. We're pretty good at making short videos at this point that talks about these people and who they were and how their health declined and then how it turned around, and just thanking the employees of Edwards Lifesciences for the contribution has just an incredible impact on how people feel about their work. And then what's special in something like a heart valve, we're the leader in heart valves around the world, each one has a serial number. So we know the exact person and then the team that made that heart valve and inspected that heart valve. So when a person gets a heart valve, they also get a little pocket card that goes along with it that has their serial number. And if they want to visit us, we can introduce them to the people that made their heart valve. And that happens routinely. It's the most beautiful, tearful reunion you can imagine. You can imagine what it means to our people when, the patient puts their arms around them and say, thank you.
Yes.
We're here because of you. And so it's a special gift to do what we do.
Wow, that is awesome.
I'm sure. I mean, just
I
being
goosebumps,
that person that created that heart valve and then being able to actually go face to face with a person that that you just saved the life of, I bet that's really what makes coming into work every single day that much more special.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, that's what makes the organization that you guys got so incredible. And I feel like that's why you guys have grown so much over all these years, because things like that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It is the culture of the company, and it's a special one.
Yeah, that's really special.
And what we didn't touch on outside of Edwards, and I know Linda's really, is your philanthropy and what you've done, not only for Down syndrome, but in Orange County. I mean, Linda, we were reading stuff, you're doing stuff all over the place. And your mom, I didn't even realize, what I missed was I didn't see about the Ottawa thing with your mom. I wish I would have found that. I didn't see that about her speaking there and all that. I wish I would have seen that. But you guys, with that incredible sense of philanthropy and giving back, obviously your brother drives you, but there's still more to it. Just what is the favorite part about doing that, and what drives you?
But it's funny. Mike mentioned my personality. I was born with the creative gene, so I kind of move around probably a little more than I should in terms of focus. But it is who I are, so I have to accept it. And I love to help people. I love to make people feel good about themselves. And sometimes it's in big contribution opportunities, and sometimes it's, for me, person to person.
Yeah.
I think I have the time and the opportunity to touch individuals, as well as groups, and I get a lot out of it.
That's awesome.
My latest focus, I think, is health and wellness, and it kind of flows into what you do.
Absolutely.
But my new mantra is we really need to change the definition of food.
Absolutely.
Food stuffs. There's food stuffs and there's food,
Yeah.
and we need to know the difference.
Absolutely. We have a GiGi Fit program that we do for every age group, and obviously it's not just about fitness. Like our GGU philosophy for GG University is confident you, healthy you, whole you. It's all about the whole person inside out. One part instructional, one part fitness, and one part nutrition. So I'll be talking to you about that and what you're thinking on that, because it's constantly evolving. The one thing is, you guys, as you guys know, probably better than anybody else, is Down syndrome is the largest chromosomal disability in our country, and yet it's the least funded. So we don't have the data. We don't have the research. We know that these kids all have an extra chromosome. What's different? What makes that different? We know that them doing exercises that we do hurts their joints and hurts their muscles. Everything is a little different, and we just need to do it. Like we have geared our literacy program and our math program to teach the way that they learn. We now have built GG Fit with a doctor of physical therapy so that we do a fitness program that works for them, that addresses joint laxity, low muscle tone, and then the vestibular system. It's an amazing program. And we have it for every age group from 6 months, because they got to build that core to be able to speak, all the way through to our adults and our caretakers. And it all ties together. But that food is another piece. What is their metabolic makeup? We know it's different. That's why I'm really excited too to talk with Dr. Chacoin. We're gonna introduce him here, but we're also gonna introduce him and do a full segment on the health and wellness of individuals with Down syndrome, which we're really excited about. And so I would love to hear more about that food, because with this, and it's a constant struggle. Gigi has been, how hard do you work on your fitness and your nutrition?
Good.
A lot.
A lot.
Right. Good. She does it all the time. And we're trying to find what's that right place. But in our culture, the culture of food and supersizing everything does not help. Does not help at all.
Well, it helps me.
Well, it helps her. She goes, it helps me.
Sure it
Gigi,
does.
you're the best. So, all right, guys. So I wanted, as you guys know, this is called A Little Something Extra. What do you guys think individually is your little something extra? What drives you? What's that passion behind everything you do? What is your something extra?
I feel so fortunate, just because, I was the beneficiary of having loving parents and having people around me that were very supportive for my whole life. And so I feel I have an overexpressed responsibility gene, and I really feel like I want to give back. Our brothers had a big impact on our lives, and so that really becomes the centerpiece of our philanthropy. And so we think deeply of, okay, how can we leave the world a better place? for
Absolutely.
all those parents, families, and individuals with Down syndrome. And that's one that's very special to us. And we're not done yet.
Yeah, that is
That's awesome.
awesome. You could just steal his, Linda. That's what I would do. I'd go where he
Yeah,
said.
we need double the responsibility for sure.
Yeah, and that's what you guys are doing. That's what I loved about you guys when I met you was your mothers. It was the responsibility as siblings and who you guys are. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to. I know I was like a stalker, but I'm like, we got to get them on the podcast. We want to hear their stories. So you guys,
I learned something in preparation with you
Oh, you
too.
did?
Because one of the things you asked was, tell us about your brothers, and I wrote down, they wore their heart on their sleeves, and we do too.
absolutely.
And then I looked, I thought, I wonder where that came from. I don't know if you know that expression.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
Shakespeare, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
And it was because when soldiers were fighting, they wore armor, and they'd wear a little trinket or something that would remind them of their girlfriend, Gigi. And that was their heart worn on their
sleeve.
armor sleeve. Believe it or not, that goes way, 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 way back.
That's awesome.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I never heard that one.
But I will say, yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, based off just the things that our siblings have taught us, especially Gigi, and I'm sure George and Bob the same. It's just, yeah, they're that piece that you would wear on your sleeve. And I think that's something that I've always taken away from that too, is that's exactly what I am. I have that overly sense of responsibility, and I think that's something that comes with having a sibling with Down syndrome as well. I think, and just any sibling. I think you just have that ability to be able to care that much more about them, especially when you have that bond.
And well, what's great is that you two cherish Gigi because she's so special. You know, we think back at the time with our brothers and how many times our brother would put his arm around and say, "I love you," or ask you, "Do you still love me, brother?" Or his great source of pride when he was able to finally go to school or finally get a paycheck, just like his brothers. Those special moments are ones that you carry for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Well, you guys are an inspiration to so many siblings, and I'm excited for our young families and I'm telling you, and our pregnant moms who come to me, and I can promise you the first thing they say to me is like, what's my life going to be like, and what are my kids' lives going to be like? And it's the biggest fear of all of our new parents and our pregnant moms. And I just really wanted to showcase a story, such a beautiful story of yours, of full circle giving. You know, God gave you this beautiful gift, and you continue to push it on. So we thank you guys so much. And Gigi is actually going to be talking about her tips. Or Franco, did you have anything else? I know that you had.
What would you say would be the something extra of? Do you think that would fall into the something extra of those employees being able to be exposed to those individuals that come back in and knowing every day that they're giving back and helping save lives?
Yeah, it's that in a big way for sure. I mean, at the center of our culture is patients first. With this idea, if people are just thinking about the patients we serve every day when they're making decisions, we're always going to run a great company, and that is absolutely key. But there's something else that's kind of related to what we're talking about today, which is a sense of community, because we can't do anything ourselves. And it takes an incredible group of physicians outside that are our partners in the system that, approves things and pays for things. And it's the communities where we work and live, and trying to give back to those communities, respect those communities, is what we try and do and what we try and emulate, because we know we just can't be impactful without being a good sort of citizen, if you will, and strengthening the communities we give. And it's another important strength of our company that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, as you should be. That's amazing. And yeah, helping people find that something extra. I mean,
I thought it was.
That's what we're trying to do too.
Yeah, when Franco asked that too, when he was like, I want to ask him what the Edward Life Science, something extra was. I thought that was a really cool question, because it's definitely a part of you, but it's a separate side. So I thought that was, I really love that you thought about that, Frank.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Okay, just quick, so we can get on to our,
Sorry.
okay, go.
If there was one message you can tell the world, what will it be?
Have great faith that your families will thrive
Awesome.
with a sibling or an offspring with Down syndrome.
Yeah, and know that you're going to have a fantastic life if you're fortunate enough to have a family member with Down syndrome. The love that you get, that's part of that family life, is something that's irreparable. You just can't replicate it, and it's very special, and you should cherish every moment of that.
I love it.
I can concur. That's for sure.
All right, so now
Not only
quickly,
families together, it brings neighborhoods together, does it not?
Oh
Doesn't
my
it?
gosh, yeah. Entire communities.
yeah. Well, and that's what we've seen even through growing the Playhouse. Like my motto has always been one child, one diagnosis, one community at a time. And now it's one country at a time. Like
Yeah.
we're in countries, but same thing. Like Linda, like when you said that, if I could just change one person, that's how I am. If I could just make that one person's day better, what will that add to? And then how does that ripple effect come in? And, you know, so that's the way I look at Gigi's. You know, we started with just one person in one place, and then we get these amazing volunteers. I mean, we're 99% volunteer runs. These volunteers come in, and then their lives become better. So they come to us to help others, but in turn, they get that help, and they take that help and they put it out into the world. And at the same time, making life better for our kids and spreading our message of global acceptance. So I love that when you said that one because that's totally me, girl. I am exactly the same way. Just one little act, one person, and then there's a ripple effect that comes with that. Because even if it's one person that you're helping, look how much it's helping their family because their life changes, and it just there's always that ripple effect, and that's what Gigi's is all about is giving that ripple effect. So I loved being. Oh gosh, I so loved our time together today. And I don't know if you guys know, but every segment Gigi gives us some, and Linda, actually you asked for some tips on the podcast. And then Gigi is going to give us some tips today about
About the
wait,
What?
are you giving tips or what?
tips.
Oh, there it goes.
Here are my tips on how to be a good sibling. Number 1, make sure you are always there for them. Be honest and do not lie. Make them happy when they feel sad. Hug them a lot. Make them laugh and be a good listener. Don't forget to say I love you. Remind them that Mom loves me best.
Woo! And those are Gigi's
Tips.
Well, are you gonna?
Tips!
She loves her singing her tips. Okay. Well, you guys, it was so awesome. Wasn't it awesome, Gigi?
Yeah.
We are so happy that you took the time out from Orange County to hang with us in Chicago. We can't wait till we can hang together someday. These getting us out. We want to really get our podcast out so we can see the person and not
Yeah.
the monitor, right? We're ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hitting the road. So we just thank you guys so much for being here. You are such a blessing. You've inspired so many. I was so touched by your story. I have so much gratitude for you, for your parents, for your family, and for you sharing your story. So thank you guys so much. And we hope to see you soon. We hope to have you on in the future, and we will talk with you soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, thank
Nancy.
you very much.
Thanks,
Nancy.
Gigi.
Yeah,
Thank
what
you, guys.
It is very special. Bye bye. See you,
Woo,
Gigi.
thank you.